A very good evening. You're watching India Global. I'm Gaurie, Dwivedi. This is a show that gets you the latest from around the world through the lens of India. But first up, as always, the headlines. Pakistan and Turkey walk hand in hand against India. Shehbaz Sharif, Pakistan Prime Minister, thanks Turkey's Erdogan for resolute support against New Delhi. Maldivian Foreign Minister Abdullah Khalil is in India. Maldives Foreign Minister's third official visit to India this year. The focus remains on economic and maritime security cooperation between New Delhi and Mali. Bangladesh's interim head Mohammad Yunus is now under fire for continuing to delay elections. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina accuses Yunus of selling the country to America. In the standoff between Donald Trump and Harvard University, it is the foreign students who are bearing the brunt. US President Donald Trump's reasonable request to Harvard says disclose names and countries of origin of all international students. We decode with one student how it has impacted his life. And COVID-19 is back. There's a huge surge in cases in India. In Delhi, the figure crosses the 100 mark. Active cases in India now climb to over 1,000 from 257 last week. We decode more about this virus and what should India do to be fully prepared. Viewers, in a move that's drawing diplomatic fire, Turkey's President Erdogan has embraced Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif just weeks after India's punishing strikes in Operation Sindoor. The message, well, it's a clear message that a dangerous solidarity against India's national interest, hand in hand, like Bonnie and Clyde. Just look at the image on your TV screens right now. Well, this is exactly what we are talking about. From Bayraktar drones to military warships, Turkey's weaponry is fueling a regime that harbors terrorists across its borders. That's the image, the video on your screens that I was referring to. This is not defiance. This is not defense cooperation. It's strategic provocation. This isn't Turkey's first anti-India signal. From 2019's post-Balakot rants to recent calls for international probes into Indian counter-terror operations. Ankara is echoing Islamabad's propaganda. From ground handling contracts to Turkish chocolates, India's unofficial boycott has begun. National sentiment is speaking louder than diplomacy, and Turkey may soon start feeling the cost of standing with a terror sponsor. Why do we say this? Well, only Turkey, Azerbaijan and China, that is just these three countries, Turkey, Azerbaijan and China, have actually sided with Pakistan compared to over 200 countries who came to support of India after Prime Minister Modi's clarion call, solidarity against terror has its price. And for Turkey and Pakistan, well, the bill is coming due. And before I get in the guest joining me this evening, I want to quickly put forth the big questions that we always ask as far as this dangerous, deadly nexus is concerned. The Istanbul-Islamabad nexus. Turkey backing Pakistan, or is it actually betting against India? That's the first question that we are putting out. Second, which is that when does defense cooperation actually cross into provocation? That's the second big question. Let's put that out. The third key question, why is Ankara echoing Islamabad's narrative? What is it that Turkey stands to gain? We're going to decode that. Is Erdogan's support strategic, or is there more to it? Is he just being reckless? If it's strategic, what are the end goals of Istanbul in this nexus? And will this alliance cost Turkey more than what it actually stands to gain? That's some of the questions that we're going to try and get answers to. Ashok Sajjanar joins me on the broadcast. We'll try and connect with Siddharth Ramedi also in just a bit. Ambassador Sajjanar, let me start by asking you the questions that we are posing. At the end of the day, what is Turkey's end goal here?
Yeah, thank you very much, Gaurie, for having me on the show. You know what Turkey wants really, as far as the emerging changes in the geopolitics is concerned, to be the leader of the Muslim Ummah. And you see, it has opposition from the traditional leader of the Muslim Ummah, that is Saudi Arabia, because, it has the biggest cards up its sleeve. It has both the holy sites, Mecca and Medina. So that gives it a huge head start. And of course, in terms of prosperity, in terms of the well being, it is much better placed. So, what it finds is that Pakistan is a good candidate to have on its side. It has a 200 million plus population of Muslims. It also has a nuclear weapon. So it thinks that, by keeping Pakistan on its own side, it will be able to get a head start in this. But I think it is very sadly mistaken if its calculations are based on such considerations, because Pakistan is a failing state. We see what are the problems in the country economically, politically, security wise. And, whatever Asim Munir might have sought to do by the Pahalgam attack and then the conflict with India, I think none of it has helped it, because we have seen that all this violence and instability within the country is increasing. So I don't think it is going to help Erdogan at all. Gaurie.
And ever since Erdogan came to power about 22 years back, the relationship between Turkey and Pakistan has actually it has increased manifold. The ties have deepened, whether it's on the political side, alignment of strategic interests, or it is the military engagement as well. And in fact, on our screens, we are putting out some of the military closeness between the two sides, in terms of Pakistan actually being the second largest purchaser of Turkish weaponry. I want to understand from you that at this stage, Turkey is the only West Asian country, the large country, to be standing by Pakistan at a time when global interest, global support is firmly backing New Delhi. What's in it for it to be as isolated as Pakistan?
Yeah, it is. You're right. It has pitched its, laid all its bets as far as Pakistan is concerned. With it, I think it also finds, as I mentioned earlier, that it is Islam which draws it towards Pakistan. Also, it finds that it has China for company in supporting Pakistan. And it is not, if you
Okay.
remember, that even earlier when these three countries, Turkey, Pakistan and Malaysia, they wanted to
Yes.
have a meeting amongst themselves in 2019, basically, against, which was designed to be against Saudi Arabia. So then also Turkey had gone, because it tries to find candidates. It finds very few of them out of the 50 plus Islamic countries who will be willing to stand up against Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely.
And so it finds Pakistan is one of those.
Let's hold your thought there, sir. I want to quickly get in Siddharth as well, who's a fellow at CSDR, joining me on the broadcast. Siddharth Primary, how do you read the Pakistan-Turkey relationship that has actually now increased because of common strategic interests? The messaging here, with the handshake, with the video, that Shehbaz Sharif is actually telling the world that you can keep giving me IMF loans, I'm going to keep doing sponsoring the cross-border terror, and I'm going to keep embracing Turkey. That's really the message that Shehbaz Sharif is sending.
Yes, right. So I think the modern genesis of Turkey-Pakistan relation in its present form, which is somewhat of a nuisance for India, did begin around 2018 to 20. It has both, as Ambassador Sajjanar had mentioned, it has a pan-Islamic ideology element, and the competition with Saudi Arabia is definitely the starting point. And it's interesting that even though Turkey is engaging in its own rapprochement with Saudi Arabia, they have pragmatic relations. They've done military exercises together, even with Pakistan over the last few years. But the ideological agenda still remains, and that will drive Turkey's relations forward. If you recall, in 2020, the speech that he gave in Pakistan Parliament, he made it very clear, Erdogan, how much Kashmir and the issue of Kashmir for him and for Turkey is a core agenda. I mean, it of course in international politics cannot be, but he still signaled his strong resolve. And hence, it will be a bit challenging for India to wean Turkey away from this pursuit. Now, Pakistan also comes in handy as a defense buyer. And when Turkish economy was really struggling in
Put
2020
out
to
some of
20,
those graphics. Let's put out some of those graphics about Turkey's weaponry being bought by Pakistan. So yes, there is religious alignment, as the two guests are saying. There is economic alignment, and at the same time, there are strategic goals that are coming in together. You're mentioning about the weapons. I want to take this up further by saying that how do you read the fact that during Operation Sindoor, Pakistan got weaponry primarily from China and the drones from Turkey, all of which was busted and decimated very comprehensively by India during Operation Sindoor. How do you see that panning out in this defense relationship?
So the way I see it panning out is that India will pursue greater preparedness from here on. We succeeded in our counter drone operations, but we will also prepare for the next round for sure. And that will be done in anticipation of the fact that both Turkey and China will also double down on their military supply to Pakistan. I think that is for sure. And they are both seeing Pakistan as a very lucrative defense market for them, and an ability to project their weapons for military exposed to various countries around the world. And hence, we're seeing a lot of the information warfare, especially from China's side, is to use this as a test bed, right, for their military exports. So, but I think if India significantly increases its defense expenditure, the other thing that India should highlight and do is that show that Kashmiris do not need Erdogan to speak for them, that he's simply trying to exploit whatever hopes and fears they may have. And I think that's a trend, again, which is in India's favor over the next few years. And the
Okay,
more we are able to show that Kashmiris are voting, they are benefiting from tourism, footfall, and all of
absolutely.
that, then the casus belli of Turkey's intervention or Turkey's wanting to be a champion becomes hollow, right, over time.
Absolutely. Turkey wants to be a counter to Saudi Arabia, but in the process, what it's now going to be receiving is the boycott campaign from India that's only going to intensify. Remember, this is a campaign started and being felt by people, common people of India, people like you and me, our viewers who are watching this, who are appalled by what Turkey wants to do, supporting cross-border terrorism. No weddings happening in Turkey as far as Indians are concerned. They don't want a vacation in Turkey, and that's just the beginning of what could be a $1 billion consumption pipeline being lost. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on this edition of India Global. In fact, viewers, on that note, it's time to slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side, talk more about Mohammed Yunus. Is it the beginning of the end of Mohammed Yunus's term? We come back and decode all that and more. Stay with us. From Nobel Peace Prize to political power play. In fact, Mohammed Yunus is now under fire for delaying democracy in Bangladesh. Once hailed as a reformer, he's now branded as a ruler without really a mandate. And in fact, Yunus claims reform, but critics see nothing but regime consolidation. From economic summits to policy rollouts, he is doing everything but holding elections. Well, his mandate, it was temporary. His ambition, unfortunately, now looking endless. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has dropped a bombshell, accused Yunus of selling the nation to the US. Her words: he seized power with radicals, banned the party of Bangladesh's freedom. He seized control with extremists, selling the nation to the United States. These are exact words that Sheikh Hasina, in fact, said regarding Mohammed Yunus. Now, what does this mean? It means that even the army now is drawing a line, not just Sheikh Hasina and her party, but even the army, demanding elections by December to take place and warning against foreign-backed projects like the Rohingya corridor, which has been dismissed as a bloody corridor by the army chief. Bangladesh's interim leader may speak of unity, but as pressure mounts from the people, parties and the military, one question looms large, that is Yunus rewriting the rules of democracy, or is he raising them? Which is why it's important to put forth those big questions that we are going to ask as far as what is really happening in Bangladesh. At one end, we've been hearing the last couple of days a lot of chatter around a public face-off between the army chief and Mohammed Yunus. There's also been a lot of chatter about whether Mohammed Yunus is now on borrowed time. There's also been fair number of protests that have taken place, whether by the army, whether it is by the civilians, instigated by the army chief. All those add to the instability that's unfolding in Bangladesh. This is why the questions that are coming in. First up, is reform a mask for a power grab that's taking place in Bangladesh? That's the first thing. Secondly, as far as the other big questions, will Bangladesh be ruled by suppression backed by radicals? The other key question. Is Bangladesh's sovereignty now being sold in silence? This is something that Sheikh Hasina has said time and again. And lastly, what happens when the army, the opposition and people say enough? As I said, there are several legs to this story. Enough and more is happening in Bangladesh. I'm going to try and have a reasoned discussion with Faisal Mahmood, who joins me along with Shreya Upadhyay. Shreya, let me start with you. NDTV has not covered any of the chatter that Bangladesh has witnessed in the last 48 hours, because that's right now it's just chatter. It is unconfirmed news. But I want to understand from you, as someone who tracks Bangladesh, this region very closely, how do you see the face-off that's unfolding and the power tussle that's been going on between the army chief and Mohammed Yunus?
So this is something which, when Yunus has to ultimately start for the
Okay, we'll try and connect with Shreya in just a bit. I want to fix that line. Faisal, let me start with you. Then let me give you that opening comment in terms of a possible, or what is turning out to be, a power tussle between the army chief and Mohammed Yunus.
Thank you, Gaurie. Let me clarify one thing. There is no power tussle because, the militaries are aiding the interim government to maintain peace and stability in the country. But then again, there's a tension. Yes, because, the army chief made a remark about the election, which the interim government probably didn't take well. So there is a tension, but there is no tussle. And the army chief has made it very clear that he has no intention of any power grab or anything. He just wants to make sure that Bangladesh has a proper democratic transition. And he just wants to make sure that Bangladesh has an election in the way, within the time frame that Dr. Yunus has mentioned. But the problem is Dr. Yunus has very clearly mentioned that the election will take place between December 2025 and June 2026. So there's a 6-month time frame. And he at one point said that if Bangladesh wants, because there was this mass uprising and Bangladesh wants a reformed administration, reform bureaucracy, and because 15 years of autocratic rule has damaged a lot of institutions. So without reform, the people will not, the common people will not accept just another election without any sort of reform. That's like the common people's perception. But again, the perception has been changing. Perception can change in a very quick time. So right now, what Dr. Yunus has said, it's probably not being well received by the main political parties. The main political parties right now is BNP, because they're very agitated. They want a fixed state. They're saying that, okay, a 6-month time frame is a long time. We want an exact date. And I think Dr. Yunus has made sure that, okay, he will not go beyond that time frame, and he'll probably soon declare a election date.
Shreya, come in there in terms of the power tussle that I was asking you earlier.
In fact, Yunus has always said it has kind of spewed venom against India, and he has said that the current crisis in Bangladesh is a product of conspiracy to kind of re-establish Indian hegemony in the country. And when he came in for a reason, and I think it's very important that now he needs to, give way to elections, as early as possible.
No, the fact that elections should take place is only part of the story. The fact that it seems that there is a parallel power center between the army and the interim government is what many feel is adding to instability. There were even, in fact, possible, as I said, chatter and rumors. I will not say that anything more, but the fact that there was those chatter and rumors about Mohammad Yunus, in fact, looking at other alternative options in terms of running the government indicates the parallel power structure, doesn't it, Shreya?
Of course. In fact, if we see that army and Yunus, the entire rift has widened, so much so that the law and order situation is currently in shambles. And there are violent rallies taking place. There have been attacks on minorities. And many have said that the army chief, Waqar-uz-Zaman, is anti-US or pro-India for that matter. In this regard, in fact, even France recently rejected meeting Yunus, for a climate change conference. So definitely, there's been a lot going on in the domestic circles, and the issue, however, it's the public that is paying the price. It is the industry which the price, whether it is the garment industry, the energy costs are rising. There's unreliable gas and electricity supplies. So, ultimately, because of the rift, it's the people of Bangladesh that are suffering.
Let's leave it there. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on the story that, as I said, I'm going to keep coming back to, but only and only when we have credible information. It seems that Mohammad Yunus is struggling, but that's the story that NDTV has been bringing to you. Anything more, it's only going to come when there is accurate information. Bottom line, viewers, as far as what's unfolding in Bangladesh is concerned, is Mohammad Yunus stands accused of hijacking democracy. 9 months, no election date. He calls it reform. Critics say that it could possibly be a coup. Protests rage, industry teethers, and Islamist radicals roam unchecked. Hasina says he sold the nation to Washington and silenced the very party that birthed Bangladesh. This is not about Hasina. This is not about the Awami League. This is about the people of Bangladesh. What do they want? Do they deserve better than an unelected interim government? Well, the army seems to be sensing what the public sentiment is, which is why it has drawn a red line. It says elections must take place. The unfoldings in Dhaka seem less and less like a transition. They're more and more looking like a twilight of Mohammad Yunus and his so-called interim government. On that note, viewers, it's time to, in fact, slip into a very short break. Coming up on the other side, Trump stands firm on Harvard's international students freeze. We get you all the details. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching India Global. We now turn attention to the Trump versus Harvard saga that still continues to play out. But India Global is going to tell you about what is the impact like on students amidst the ongoing clash that's unfolding. Remember, it is the students who are bearing the brunt of it. They've been given strict timeline to figure out what they're going to do as far as their degrees are concerned, the loans that they have taken, the visas that are there. There is just an uncertainty galore for them. And to understand what it's like, Ashmit Singh, a sophomore at Harvard, is now joining me live to understand what really is taking place on the campus in the midst of all the political back and forth. It's students whose lives are at stake. Ashmit, thank you so much for speaking to me. I want to first of all understand from you what's happening right now on ground in terms of students that you're speaking to. What are they saying in terms of the uncertainty, the anxiety that they're all struck with?
So every student, every international student at Harvard is kind of worried about the situation, as the big issue is that there is very high insurance. We still don't know how it's going to go. There's currently a temporary stay on the executive decision that's been made by our local high court in Massachusetts. And until that goes away, we are not sure whether it's going to be still withheld on Thursday when there's another court case deciding the decision of the department if it's right or not. And up until then, we're not sure what's going to happen. We've been told that there will be two primary options if we decide to if they decide to still go ahead with the decision. One would be to transfer to another university, and the other one would be to return to your own home countries.
Are students being able to transfer? Is this time of 15 days, a fortnight, enough for them to find another course in another university? Because there would be timelines there as well, right?
Yes, so a lot of the universities, especially the other Ivy League universities, already are done with their transfer deadlines. Most of them were due in March. So a lot of students won't have any opportunities within the United States for the next 15, 20 days if this is how they proceed with it. So I believe a lot of students will be either forced to take a gap year and then reapply next year for transferring, or maybe transfer to universities in another country or back in their home countries.
So what happens in the event that they don't get a transfer? Because can they then stay on American shores? Will they have to come back? What happens to their visa status? Because those are questions that every student would be grappling with.
Yes. So as of now, from what I've understood, if their F1 visas get cancelled, which is what will happen if the Harvard is not allowed to issue the F1 visas that it is currently, the students will be, after some time, not allowed to remain in the United States. And they will have to go back to their home countries. And if they're not able to secure any transferred colleges within that time, or gainful educational attainment at any other college, any other certified college of the United States, they will have to return back to their countries. And that's why a lot of people are worried about it, because they're not sure if they're going to be able to secure any transfers. And even if they are able to secure transfers, how will it work out, the entire process?
Absolutely. Ashmit, you must be speaking to a lot of your friends on the campus, Indian students. There are about 800 odd Indian students who are there as well. You've been able to speak to any one of them? What are they saying? What's the best possible recourse they have right now in the midst of limited options?
Yes, so yes, obviously I've been talking to a lot of the international students, a lot of the Indian international students. And just from the undergraduate point of view, a lot of students are right now just keeping their head down, waiting for the government and the university to kind of work it out between themselves. As they're going to be taken to court on Thursday, there's going to be more hearing on the topic. The students there's not much the students can do, but they are trying to go out there, spread the word about like what's happening, how it's going to affect the students. So some people can either help in or just be more aware about what's happening here. But otherwise, for the students, there's not much people can do as students there, other than wait and just let the university and the administration figure it out between themselves.
In the event that there is no change, in the event that there is no legal reprieve, everybody is waiting for legal reprieve. In the event that doesn't happen, Harvard has reached out to students. It's trying to, of course, calm all of them. But that's just a sort of a counseling exercise, isn't it? Because students have limited options right now. What is the best possible recourse for them? Are they talking to some immigration lawyers? Are they talking to some other set of lawyers and counselors to find some sort of a path that they can at least salvage their degrees, salvage their visa, all that?
So Harvard has provided, there is some services that Harvard provides through its law schools just to allow the students to be able to talk to immigration lawyers if they want to, if there's any emergency case. People are also connected with the international office at Harvard. So right now we do get some semi-regular updates about what's happening, but there hasn't been any formal course of what we'll do in case the law isn't able to be upheld. And because of that, some students are considering other options. Some students are reaching out and talking to their immigration lawyers. But as of now, because of the whole insurance, no student is guaranteed about what they're going to do or how they're going to even proceed with it. Because like we said, we're not sure what Harvard's going to do. We're not sure how the legal course is going to be. So some students are trying to just wait it out for now until there's more.
And finally, I want to ask you this question, Ashmit. What started this? Which is the set of demands that came in from the Trump administration side What's the mood like on campus in terms of those specific demands, which is details regarding international students, something that Harvard says it will not provide? What's the mood like on the campus with regard to those demands that the administration has made? Are they saying they should give in? Are they saying they should continue to fight even if it means students' careers get jeopardized? What is it that students are saying?
Yes, so there are specific demands regarding like a lot of information that is available on the international students with Harvard that the Harvard obviously administration didn't want to share with the United States government because they thought it could be it could lead to some information that they do not want being out there with the government. So,
no, but what do students feel?
Should
students feel that information should be shared so that they are done and dusted with this controversy, move on with their lives and their degrees?
I think it's kind of 50-50 right now. There's some students who are arguing for it that, we should just let the information out there. And there are some students that still feel that it's like our duty to keep all the information that the university isn't required to share with ourselves. So I would say it's kind of 50-50. There's a lot of debate about it, but it's not like the will of the international students will really change any much since it's a decision between the administration and the government anyways.
All right, we leave it there, Rashmi. Thank you so much for speaking to me, explaining to us the anxiety, the uncertainty that thousands of international students, including hundreds of Indian students at the Harvard campuses are facing right now. Thank you so much, and we're going to keep coming back to that story. In fact, on that note, let's shift gears. Let's talk about, well, a war that's spiraling or beginning to spiral out of control. A former ally stunt, Donald Trump, once proud of his very good relationship with Vladimir Putin, now says that he's gone absolutely crazy. Yes, that's the exact phrase that he used. This after Russia unleashed 355 drones, 9 missiles on Ukraine, a record-breaking barrage overnight, just 24 hours after an even deadlier strike with 367 aerial weapons that left at least 12 civilians dead. Kiev attacked for the third night in a row. Residential buildings shattered, garage lots burning, debris falling like steel rain. Meanwhile, listen into what Donald Trump said when he actually said that Putin has completely lost it.
I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
You talked before about putting more sanctions on Russia. Is that something you're considering more seriously?
Absolutely. He's killing a lot of people. I don't know what's wrong with him. What the hell happened to him, right? He's killing a lot of people. I'm not happy about that.
Trump's rebuke may mark a turning point in the American politics, but for Ukraine, the skies are still lethal, the nights still long, and Putin's war machine shows no signs of stopping. In fact, Moscow has released a statement saying everyone is being emotional. Yes, that's the kind of commentary that's coming in from both sides. The war is changing, and so are the alliances. Trump says Putin has lost control. For Ukraine, the cost of that chaos is being paid in blood and fire. And let me, in fact, get in Professor Anuradha Chinoy, who understands Europe region very well, to understand from her where exactly is this war headed. Professor Chinoy, that's the question. The commentary coming in from both sides seems to be casual, callous, but what is the next step in this ongoing war? Unmute yourself, ma'am.
Number one, I think this is very unfortunate, the way this war is escalating. It really needs to go into some kind of peace talks. And both sides, on the one side, Ukraine backed especially by the European partners and also by the US, who've had this proxy war. And on the other side, Russia. The demands from both sides have not shifted since the war started in February 22. Russia keeps insisting that Ukraine cannot join NATO. The 4 provinces plus Crimea, that is the Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Crimea, will be an integral part of Russia now that Russia has taken them over. And the security architecture in Europe should be one which has a kind of a permanent peace, whereas Ukraine wants to join NATO. It wants to take Russia to give back all the territory they've taken. They believe Russia is a permanent
No, but the demands
threat,
on both
and they will
sides
not-
look very, very entrenched. I understand. But there's suddenly a new phase that we have entered in terms of the military aggression from Russia, isn't it? So what is it that President Putin is really hoping to achieve in terms of this next phase?
You're absolutely right. There was a kind of a plea for a 30-day ceasefire from Europe, from the Americans, and from Ukraine. But Russia's argument was that if there's a ceasefire without peace talks and negotiations, it will only enable Ukraine to regroup and start the war again. So they didn't want the ceasefire. And in fact, they've done the opposite. They have upped the ante. They have escalated, putting pressure for this negotiation. But I don't think that's a way actually to get peace. It's actually a way of only getting more war, even though Russia has gained a lot territorially, and Ukraine is not in a good way.
Professor Chinoy, finally, I want to ask you this. The fact that Trump said that Putin may have lost it, he's absolutely crazy. He's airing his frustration. He's airing the frustration of the Americans in not being able to thrash out any possible peace settlement, isn't it?
That's right. You see, America, from being a co-belligerent almost, has turned negotiator, and they're in a hurry to settle this war and move ahead. But they're caught between these two sides. Europe is pushing Ukraine not to negotiate and not to withdraw or have any compromise or even a serious peace engagement, and nor is Russia. So Trump ultimately might just walk out of it. He might have more sanctions. He might resume arming Ukraine. So it's a bad situation, and I think all options for the US are actually open. It seems like the whole attempt to have peace is now actually on the back foot.
All right, let's leave it there. Professor Chinoy, thank you so much for speaking to me on India Global. And viewers, on that note, we slip into a short break, come back on the other side, talk more about COVID-19 cases that are surging in India. Delhi itself crosses the 100 case mark. What next? We come back and decode. Stay with us. Just months after Liberals were left adrift under a leader who refused to step aside, Prime Minister Pakistani has done the unthinkable, embraced dissent, welcomed debate, and walked away stronger. Unlike his predecessor, Khani didn't silence his MPs, he let them speak, even as they debated whether future leaders should face more accountability. The result? Confidence, not chaos. While Trudeau clung to power as ministers jumped ship, Khani earned loyalty by listening and leading with restraint. The Reform Act, voted down not by pressure but by choice, tacked over turmoil, a united caucus and a bold new spring session. Khani is not just Trudeau's successor, he is his contrast. It seems like Canada's Liberals have not just voted, they have evolved, and that's exactly why Khani is completely different as far as his ratings and also his position in the party is concerned. Which brings me to in fact talk about the bottom line, which is that Khani carries more political capital today than Justin Trudeau ever did. No baggage, no fragile alliances, and crucially no insecurity. Canada's new foreign minister, handpicked by Khani, is already in talks with External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar. A diplomatic thaw is in the works. If this holds, Khani could rewrite the India-Canada playbook. Trade, tech, security, all very much back on the table, which had been completely thrown out due to Trudeau's antics. Well, staying with Canada, the last time Canada's monarch opened a session of Parliament was in 1977 when Queen Elizabeth II visited the country as part of her Silver Jubilee tour. But later this evening, King Charles III will become only the second monarch in Canada's history to participate in the historic ritual. From a walnut throne adorned with a spray of gold maple leaves, Charles, who is Canada's head of state, will deliver the speech from the throne with one message in mind: Canada is a separate, sovereign country from the US. How is this likely to play out in terms of impact, messaging, and the future dynamics between the US and Canada? My colleague Maha Siddiqui decodes that.
48 years after the last monarch opened the Parliament session in Canada, King Charles III would be present in Ottawa to do the same and to deliver the speech from the throne. This is a hugely symbolic gesture coming in the backdrop of the persistent annexation threats from US President Donald Trump. Prime Minister Mark Carney had earlier pointed out in a statement that the King's visit would reflect that Canada has a steadfast defender of its sovereignty. The King would not be visiting Canada as a foreign dignitary, but rather as the head of the state. And it is expected that during his speech, a strong message would be sent out across the border from Canada to the United States. And that is why royal watchers are calling this a pivotal moment. In normal practice, the speech from the throne is made by the Governor-General as a representative of the monarch. The speech is written by the government and outlines its priorities. This time, the King would be delivering the speech himself. This is a whirlwind tour that King Charles III will be making to Canada along with Queen Camilla, and apart from opening the Parliament, the two would also be visiting a farmer's market and be engaging with the community. But all eyes are closely watching the message that King Charles would send out from the Canadian Parliament to the United States, and specifically to President Donald Trump.
Well, shifting focus now to the other story, which frankly impacts all of us. India has crossed the 1,000 mark in active COVID-19 cases, with Kerala leading the tally at 430. Delhi reporting 100 cases, including 99 new cases this past week, viewers. While the rise has drawn attention, health officials are urging calm. And Delhi's Chief Minister Rekha Gupta says there is no cause for alarm. Hospitals, she said, are fully equipped and advisories are in place to manage any increase in cases. Meanwhile, in fact, information that's coming in is that India's virus tracking network has identified new subvariants, NB181 in Tamil Nadu, LF7 in Gujarat. Both are under monitoring, but not variants of concern. In fact, JN1 remains the dominant one in India. Hospitals in the national capital have been advised to stay alert, ensuring equipment is functional. So since then, since COVID pandemic 5 years back, India is a lot wiser. Staff is trained, equipment is functional, protocols are in place, masks are now being made mandatory. So to that effect, India has ensured that all its guardrails are up. What can we do next? Let's quickly now get in Dr. Sanjeev Bagai to understand what is it that we should now be focused on. Dr. Bagai, what should be our alarm bells and warning signs that we should be watching out for?
Good evening. So I think it's a matter of taking precaution, but there is no immediate cause of panic or anxiety or any fear. We have seen in the last month or so a sudden rise, and especially in the last week or so. What we are seeing in Indian diaspora mainly is the Omicron subvariants, which is called as JN.1, and then they have had convergent and recombinant mutations to have LP8.1, LF7.2, and so on. These are all original breakaways of JN.1, which is of the original strain of what we call as BA2.86. These are not as lethal, although they may be slightly more transmissible. The third point here is that the immune escape mechanism is very heavy here. So these are one of the fittest mutations, what we call as. These are called as flip mutations, especially in the area of the amino acid LS455. The clinical impact is that if you
Sir, please decode, Dr. Bagai. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just scared and they are anxious, but they can't understand this language that you're talking, the lingo that you're explaining it in.
Yeah, clinically speaking, there is no need for immediate revaccination or any booster dose. There is no need of any antivirals to be given. There is no need of any antibiotics because it's a viral infection. Most of these are very, very mild, subclinical, and the rate of admission and indeed oxygen requirement is very low. Therefore, there is no need to panic. Since it is transmissible, it's an airborne infection. Wearing a mask, especially in crowded areas, close clusters, or poorly ventilated areas, is of paramount importance. If you have fever, isolate yourself at home. Don't expose yourself to others. If you are in a crowded area, wear a mask. It will prevent infection for yourself or for you to transmit it further.
All right, we leave it there. Dr. Bagay, thank you so much for explaining to us. Essentially, it boils down to, viewers, exactly what you and I have learnt in the last 5 years, which is isolate yourself if you have symptoms, do not get alarmed, and more importantly, keep watching for any alarm signs. Well, on that note, viewers, completely timed out on this edition of India Global. I'm going to come back tomorrow with fresh stories, fresh views, fresh perspectives on all that matters to Indians living here and around the world. Thank you so much for watching this.